All I wanted was a hug.
The once gangly teenager whose body had incrementally transformed unnoticed into this feeble, flabby shell belonging to an old man. Heaving its incessant daily resistance to gravity, practically gasping for a share of the planet's oxygen.
Gravity
The old man thought to himself.
is how a planet, a globe deprived as it is of arms, asks for a hug. And breathing.
He extrapolated.
So an upper respiratory system, similarly deficient with the way of arms, engages the atmosphere in a hug. Just a hug.
He thought ruefully, surveying in retrospect the great plains of an adulthood not so much inhabited as traversed.
Mother
He argued to himself.
could hardly be blamed for not meeting my every little need.
From his current vantage point, he allowed his howl.
I guess she did the best she could with that one remaining leg of hers.
The only limb left to her by God after the accident that claimed her husband, extremities and all, along with 3 of her own most cherished appendages. Over and over she asked,
Why?
what significance was she to make of the fact that only 1 leg remained of the 8 limbs, unremarkably attached to 2 living torsos that had entered the automobile one fateful evening, beginning the return trip home from a less than successful but nonetheless diverting performance of
Kiss me, Kate.
a performance inspiring in her an enthusiastic, impromptu fantasy on behalf of her son to the effect that
Billy could be an actor. It doesn't look so hard.
no sooner had she indulged in this unanticipated fantasy when their car careened off the rain-slicked road, and upon emerging from the carnage, she had but 1 limb left intact.
2 people, 1 leg.
She pondered.
12.5%. What sense is there to be made of it?
On days when the arthritis relaxed its all too frequent affliction of her knee, she awkwardly wrapped that miraculously retained shank around the neck of her son, trying, occasionally with success, to avoid a vise-like grip on his trachea as she whispered commandingly,
Son, don't you ever mess with the theater. It'll kill you.
You're strangling me.
He would gasp at his remorseless hunger to feel his mother.
Embrace me.
Blending as it did in adolescent confusion, the delicate touch of the underside of a mother's knee with an all too frequent sensation of strangulation.
I can't breathe.
So, perhaps not unexpectedly, when asked to select an extracurricular high school activity, one that would exemplify and develop an adolescent's nascent sense of self, he smothered an inexplicable fascination he had developed for.
The drama club.
Instead, he responded,
Wrestling, yes.
and for a while, wrestling proved to be a moderately satisfying pursuit, though most of Billy's messages ended with him locked in a scissors hold.
Again!
But his sojourn with the team ended during a match in which he, pinned to the mat, locked in the dizzying embrace of his opponent's thin, muscular legs, instead of grunting,
Again!
blurted out.
I love you too!
Forthwith, he was banished from the club.
The wrestling club is no place for behavior of that sort. It's completely inappropriate.
With a heavy heart and shame and trepidation, he set out on a search for another club in which he could hide. One afternoon, he found himself standing, forlorn, at the door to a room in which auditions were in progress for
The
Taming of the Shrew.
Hey, Billy, you gonna try out?
It'll kill you!
He could not bring himself to go in. So his wayward search led him instead to the school magic club, where other junior prestidigitators honed their skills, poking silk scarves into fists wherefrom
Abracadabra.
silver coins miraculously appeared.
Presto!
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 But Billy found himself mesmerized by the challenge of escaping from us.
Straight jacket.
He loved that trick.
Wrap me up.
He pleaded endlessly. Little by little, something began to awaken deep inside Billy as he explored this thing that for him felt so new, so different, and yet was somehow inescapably familiar. What he felt was,
Trust.
hour after hour he would practice, so that by the time he finally emerged from his canvas cocoon,
Presto!
all the other members had left, hours earlier, returning home to the waiting arms of doting mothers. Oddly enough, instead of getting better at the routine, it would take Billy longer and longer to excise himself from the sleeves that bound him tight. This the other members found tiresome, so, one by one, they drifted away from the club.
Bye.
Yeah.
Until by the time of the school's annual talent show, which, in the interest of precision, had recently been renamed,
The variety show.
Billy was the only member left to represent the Magic Club.
You? Me?
Despite continuing trepidation and in monumental turmoil over his mother's advice,
It'll kill you! Kill you! Kill you!
he convinced himself that the variety show was actually only quasi-theater, not so much a performance as a demonstration. So he came to find himself one night upon a stage in a straitjacket, this time with an audience bearing witness to his writhing and wrenching, his yanking and churning as he strained, and he thrusted, a veritable orgy of self-prestidigitation, which had the unanticipated effect in that teen-filled auditorium of raising high the heat, generating a wild, surging tide of gonads and hormones over which Billy found himself surfing. Its siren call drawing him ever closer to the precarious edge of that turbulent ocean where, for a single ecstatic moment, he teetered. Arms still locked in their coarse canvas prison before taking an unscripted, most unwelcome swan dive over the proscenium and into the orchestra pit. In those endless moments of unexpected flight, succumbing to the irresistible embrace of gravity, his mother's warning echoed through him.
It'll kill you! Kill you! Kill you!
Blended with the gasps and cheers of the spectators,
Fuck!
Fuck!
who were unsure if it was or was not part of the act.
Mama?
As consciousness slowly percolated back, his eyes slowly opened before the arrival of the ambulance, and he heard first the sound of one, then another pair of hands, consciously clapping to the end of 1,000 inspirational Hollywood films, supplying their audience with the surrogate celluloid release of applause unobtainable in a movie house. An ocean of sound wrapped around Billy, caressing him, swaddling his broken body in clouds of oral relief.
Oh.
Upon exiting the hospital, Billy placed his career as a magician on hold. He also knew that as surely as he developed an addiction to the pain-killing drugs so parsimoniously dispensed to him by the nurses, that he discovered a compulsion which, over a lifetime, would prove to be an even more demanding mistress. He joined
The Drama Club.
At Universal Harbor, we're highly confused.
Overly sensitive.
And socially challenged.
adolescents who find themselves adrift in a sea of disaffection go to lose themselves
Stella!
and to find others.
I've always depended on the kindness of strangers.
And in the process, it is not unheard of that that a confused adolescent learn a thing or two about himself.
Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? Me?
Try as he might,
No, son, don't!
he cannot get his mother to acquiesce in his decision.
It'll kill you! Kill you! Kill you!
But I've been cast, Mama!
Never again would she set foot in a theater.
I'm gonna be it.
Arms in the man.
A lifetime of work, a lifetime on the stage, and never would he get to hear the comforting stomp of his mother's foot expressing approval for his exertions. These were the thoughts that now racked the old actor with anxiety as he contemplated, measuring the success or failure of a career.
Has it amounted to anything?
The old man asked himself, looking back. A lifetime of work, and still he felt the stage a place he never truly belonged. A place with its ups
Alas, poor York.
and its downs.
But you are, Blanche. You are in a wheelchair.
A lifetime spent in that refuge where all the broken people go who don't belong. A place where ruination dances nightly with redemption. A place of magic
Presto!
and taboo.
Kill! Kill! Kill!
He even took a stab at writing plays.
This is my adaptation of Farewell to Arms.
But he found the world of Paris to be one populated by...
Cranks and crackpots.
Thus, acting remained his enduring passion. Somehow he had stumbled upon this wayward tribe, this club where all the world's Billies hide in open sight, engaged in an unremitting chase of... What?
Just a hug.
Another world of addicts grappling for their drug of choice. The savory embrace of an audience with those with whom it finds favor.
Worthy substitute?
Billy wondered.
Perhaps.
Mom.